Okay, hi folks. We're just going to wait for the attendee room to populate. We'll give that a second before we call the meeting to order. Okay. All right. Corey, if you'd like to call the meeting to order.
Okay, it is 6:33 p.m. and I now call this meeting to order.
Great. Please be advised that in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, notice of the time, date, and place of this regularly scheduled meeting of the Jersey City Historic Preservation Commission was posted on the public notice page of the Jersey City City Clerk on Thursday, July 9th, and was also posted on the Jersey City calendar and the Jersey City data portal. I will do a roll call attendance. Commissioner Sandkamp? I believe he's having tech issues, so we're going to mark him as absent. When he returns, we will note his arrival for the record. Commissioner Gunther?
Here.
Oh, Janelle, I think you're muted.
Here.
Thanks. Commissioner Sakong?
Here.
Commissioner Blazak is absent. Commissioner Gordon?
Present.
Robert, I think you're also muted.
Present.
Thank you. Commissioner Edgecombe?
Present.
Okay. Commissioner Kay?
Present.
Oh.
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Callback?
Here. I said here.
Oh, I don't know if everyone's is just not unmuting or not.
I think
No,
it
we-
might be Maggie.
Yeah, I can hear them.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's definitely me. Excellent. Great news. All right. So Natalie is here. Commissioner Gucciardo is absent. Vice Chair Cronin.
Here.
Thank you. And Chairman Garriga.
Here.
Okay. There are 8 members of the commission in attendance. 5 affirmative votes are needed for a certificate of appropriateness. Next item is the approval of minutes for the June 15th meeting. Does anyone have any questions, comments, concerns? If not, staff recommends a motion to approve.
Motion. Second.
Okay, I'll do a roll call vote for this. Commissioner Gunther?
Aye. Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Sakong?
Abstain.
Commissioner Blazak is absent. Commissioner Gordon?
Aye.
Commissioner Edgecombe?
Aye. Did you hear me? Aye. Did you hear it?
Yes, I got it then. Commissioner Kay?
Aye, I can vote aye because I watched the.
Perfect. Thank
Right.
you. Yes. Commissioner Callback?
Aye.
Okay. Commissioner Gucciardo is absent. Commissioner Sandkamp is absent. Vice Chair Cronin?
Abstain.
Okay. And Chairman Griga?
Aye.
Okay. There are 6 votes in favor, 2 abstentions. The minutes for the June 15th meeting are approved. Correspondence, all copies of correspondence are available tonight, and correspondence application materials are available tonight, linked on the agenda. Staff has 2 announcements at this time. We have 2 cases that have carried this evening. The first case that is carried is case 9B H-26-0136, which is 314 Pavonia Ave, has chosen to carry to the August HPC meeting. And case 9C H-26-0153 281 York Street has also chosen to carry to the August HPC meeting. Okay. We'll move on to open public comment. If there are any members of the public in attendance who would like to speak regarding matters of historic preservation that are not listed on tonight's agenda, again, this is for items not on tonight's agenda, Please use the raise hand function at the bottom of your screen. If you are calling in on the phone, you can also press *9. Okay. Staff sees no hands raised and recommends a motion to open and close public comment.
I think there's a hand raised.
Oh, I think.
Yep.
This is going to be a problem because I do not see the hand raised.
On the attendees,
Yeah,
Sharon,
it just popped up for me. Okay.
Staff also
Sharon, I'm
notes.
working to get to you. All right, so let's make a motion to open public comment.
motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Aye.
Sharon, I'm going to promote you as a panelist so that you can have open public comment.
And while we're doing that, just staff notes that Commissioner Sandcamp has arrived. It is 6:39 p.m.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hi, Sharon.
Hi, Maggie. Hi, everyone.
We're going to swear you in. Laura, typically the court reporter swears in.
Okay. Should I spell my name or?
Laura's going to unmute and help and swear you in.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this proceeding is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Thank you. If you could please state your name, spell it, and provide.
Sure. My name is Shireen McCormack. It's SHIRIN and my address is 130 Glenwood Ave.
Okay, thanks, Sharon. Your time begins now.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I won't take the full time of the 5 minutes, but thank you for offering that. I just wanted to briefly mention that I'm aware of the 2 items on the agenda, the 2 cousin or sister applications tonight, H240171 and the sister or cousin application 0172 for 6 Gifford. And I know that for some of the people that participated in public comment at last month's meeting, it seemed to be a bit problematic or challenging to look at one application at a time when there's really like a 2-for-1 sort of package of 2 applications here. So I don't know if there is a way to offer, instead of 3 minutes public comment, 6 minutes in one session for both projects, or how to do that. But I just wanted to make sure that I raised the concern that it seemed to be a little bit of an issue for some of the public commenters last time.
Okay, thanks, Sharon. We'll address questions once we close public comment, but I have them written. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other members of the public who would like to address the commission? Okay. Staff does not see any additional hands raised, and staff recommends a motion to close public comment.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, let me just make sure, Sharon, I'm just going to make sure that you populated back over in attendees before I answer. So the bylaws for the HPC permit up to 5 minutes per application of public comment. If any votes are taken tonight on either of the applications in question, the public will be able to comment on each one, both individually. There will be 2 separate public comment sessions. So we don't need to time or anything like that because there will be public comment for both of them. Okay. All right. If there are no additional comments or anything from commissioners, I think we can move on to old business. Corey, if you'd like to call the first case.
Absolutely. Give me 1 second here. All right. Old business. We're going to call case H-25-0036. Applicant Eugene O'Connell, Esquire, on behalf of Rekha Patel, owner. The address is 84 Cole Street. That's block 11213, lot 2.01, Zone H, Parson's Cove Historic District for the certificate of appropriateness for the proposed construction of a new 4-story, 2-unit residential building and associated work site in the Parson's Cove Historic District. This is a recommendation to the Jersey City Zoning Board of Adjustment, carried from the regular HPC meeting of June 15th, 2026 at the request of the applicant.
Thanks. Jean, if you could just raise your hand. I don't see Jean O'Connell. I don't see you listed in the attendees. So if you could use the raise hand. Oh, I found you. Thank you. All right. All right, Jean, there should be a promote to panelist pop-up for you that you need to accept. Great.
Okay, I think worked in, Mac.
Okay. Hi, Jean. You're welcome to be, Jean, we're going to swear in Carolyn and Jensen.
Okay.
And then you guys can take it from there, okay?
That's great.
Laura, if you don't mind, swear. We'll do one at a time, I guess, starting with Carolyn.
Okay, Caroline, please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this proceeding is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Please state your name, spell your name, and provide your business address.
Sure. It's Carolyn Worstell, Carolyn, Worstell, Worstell. Business address is 30 Montgomery Street, Suite 510, Jersey City, New Jersey.
Thank you. And the next witness, please raise your right hand. Swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this proceeding is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Thank you. Please, again, lower your hand, state your name, spell your last name, and provide your business address.
Jensen Vasel, Jensen, V as in Victor, ASIL, and business address is 702 Clinton Street in Hoboken, New Jersey.
Okay. Staff notes that both Jensen and Carolyn have been qualified as experts in their related field in front of this board before. Jean, feel free to take it away.
Okay, thanks so much, Maggie. So good evening, commissioners, and thank you for the opportunity to present before you tonight. The last taken in this case, May 11th. And at that meeting, both Jensen and meeting, there was a suggestion made by the commission, which would make the application a better application. Positive. And we
Sorry, Mr. O'Connor, you're going in and out. I'm not sure if your microphone, if you can check that, please.
Yep, my microphone is. Let's see if I can check the box. Okay. I think my volume's up as far as we go. I'm sorry. Is it any better?
Yes.
Okay, great. So we took those suggestions back to our architect, and while the Historic Commission in 2019 approved an application of building on this site, which was higher and more and required 6 variances, with the several modifications that we made for tonight's presentation, our building is smaller and only requires 3 variances. So with that, we're going to go through the plans and to go over each of the modifications and improvements we have made to the application to make it more appropriate for us. So Jen, if you could take it away.
Good evening, commissioners. I'm going to just load this up here. So as Mr. O'Connell introduced, we were here in May. There were some very helpful suggestions made by the board and ways to make this application improve the application. And I think we included those in our revisions, having to do with the bulk on the street and the top floor, the top floor setting it back. So there were a couple of comments made. Number one is to push back possibly one side of because the building was very long time ago. It was 2 lots. It's now one combined lot. So the idea here was to shift back the top floor where there was an opportunity to maybe make that shift to make it look like 2 more separate buildings. And so out of that was a score line in the brick in the front, setting back one side more than the other, which we did. We set back one side 5'5". The other side remained the 3'8". And we've changed. We had a hardy panel siding that was board and batten that was modified to the horizontal clapboard, which is more appropriate with the context. I'm going to just bring up the score line to detail just to show you a photo of what that would look like. So the separation between the 2 buildings. This is that same desert iron spot kind of brick. So it'd be a control joint between the two pieces. And then also we had the doors opposing, so it was mirrored horizontally. And then now the doors have been switched back so that they are so that it looks like 2 separate skinnier row houses. We also made the door wider and added a little skylight side light next to it, so that it's lets more light in and differentiates the door. It isn't so narrow from the facade above. I did adjust at the top, the curb, brought the curb down to a minimum curb of 6 inches. We reduced the forehead that was there before. There was a off center of the window, which is more centered on the top floor. So we made some positive adjustments to the building to make it to bring it more in line with to make it more appropriate. In addition to that, we had prepared some renderings just to show the building sort of in context. So we have a kind of a front view here with the doors and the stairs, a side view showing it's the building and the addition kind of in context from down the street from the corner. And then as Mr. O'Connell introduced, we took the old rendering that was from the previous application and we just did them side by side, slightly different camera angle apertures, but you can understand the effect by not having a parapet and reducing the floor to floor heights. I think we're significantly less prominent on the street frontage. And while we still need a variance, a lot of that has to do with the way the building height was measured and also the design flood elevation, our design flood elevation being a solid 3 feet more or 2 feet more than what was 2 feet than the original than the previous application. So I think with these modifications, I think we've tried to make this. I think we've taken the comments to heart, and I think we've bettered your comments have bettered the project, and we appreciate that the insight, and we hope that makes it that you appreciate that.
And just to note, these need to be entered as an exhibit. So Laura, if we could mark these as A1, we'll mark it as like 84 Coles rendering, and that's 3 pages.
Correct.
Thank you.
Oh, there's one other exhibit. This is a line drawing side by side of that same comparison. just showing the differences, the measurement of design flood elevation, BFE, and the between the two. So we are significantly lower, I think, as a prominence than the expired application.
We'll just mark that as A2 as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Gene, or Jensen, do you have any other further?
Go over that on the staff memo. We feel like we've addressed the issues, and is there anything in the staff memo that you felt we addressed that maybe Michael thought we did not?
From the technical comments, I think we addressed the score line. The window, the fascia board with the window being moved up. There was a comment that there should be at least one brick between the top of the lintel and the bottom of the fascia, which I did. It is like it's a brick and change. We're happy to, if that needs to be modified, and additionally, we're happy to make that happen. There was another additional comment about the height of the windows up top. Again, I think we made it more centered on that facade. But if the board felt that the windows at the top floor were too high and more siding was, would be better, then we could make the windows slightly smaller.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Jens. So, Carolyn, do you have anything that you want to put on the record as far as the application?
Sure. So I can just again sort of retouch on a couple of items. As this was previously presented. Again, this particular property is atypical. It is undersized. It's 1,500 square feet, and it is wider than it is deep, which is sort of an atypical for lot size, or it's wider than we're used to seeing. So it does sort of lend itself to this design where we sort of created the feel of having two smaller developments. The lot has been empty, for a significant period of time. I think, the staff memo mentioned 1960 and 1980, so it's well over 40 years that the site has been vacant. And really, the work here has been done to really design this to present as the two side-by-side developments with the changes to the stairs moving so that we're continuing the rhythm and pattern of the stairs on the left side of the building. And so continuing that pattern that was noted on the block. The fourth floor was stepped back to sort of, again, re-emphasize the fact that this is, typically is a 3-story block as it's in its current iteration. There was some talk about, the intention for, the continuous height of the cornice lines and the windows. Again, as I mentioned previously, this property is in a flood zone, which requires that first residential floor be raised up. And this leads to the fact that we do not align with the adjacent buildings. We cannot occupy a ground floor at the sidewalk level, which is where the existing first floors are on the adjacent buildings. It's not permitted under the state's flood hazard rules. So that sort of really is the reason why we have this sort of character where we're a little stepped up, and that leads to this issue. The fact there's some comments about the height overwhelming the adjacent historic context. The city's a living thing. The only constant in a city is that there is change. The zone that these lots are in does permit 4 stories. There is sort of this existing 2 to 3 story context, but each of these individual properties does have the option and, within the zoning to add an additional story. So the fact that this is a 4-story building is still within the context of what the zoning calls for on this. And then again, with the way that it's been designed to create that step back and separation of that fourth floor, again, it's the intent was to create the context so that it fits within that 3-story context, even though it doesn't exactly align. Again, because we can't with the flood hazard. I think, I did note in the city's 2024 Historic Preservation Master Plan element, there are recommendations. Action plan recommendation number 22 was to investigate the potential to allow for an increased and permitted height to account for base flood elevation for historic district properties. Because right now, the way that the city's ordinances read, any other district that is not a historic district anywhere else in the city, if you have a property that's in a flood hazard zone, you are permitted additional height to address the fact that you do have to elevate your structure in order to get that first residential floor out of the floodplain. If this site was to be treated like all of the other properties throughout the city in terms of flood hazard, the height would be conforming. You would be permitted a height of 45.5 feet on this property because you take you add the height that is the difference between your design flood elevation and your finished grade or where the sidewalk is, and you add that to your permitted height. So the difference is 5.5 feet. We'd add that to 45 or 40, we get the 45.5 feet. So the proposed height here of 43 feet, 3.5 inches would be conforming if this was to be treated as any other site in any other zone. And again, when I was reading through again the historic master plan element, there was a statement in there. I think it was on page 46 that really, is sort of talked about and acknowledged that sometimes the strict enforcement of certain historic preservation standards and requirements can be cost prohibitive, and they get to a point where sometimes they place an excessive burden upon a homeowner or developer. And when that happens, the cost of the homeowner developer has to weigh those additional costs for development versus just doing nothing. And so oftentimes, when they have to choose between the cost and disinvestment usually triumphs. So again, I think that this site, you can see it's been vacant for 40 years, over 40 years. That's continued disinvestment in this particular property. And I think that this is an application where we're trying to find that that middle ground where we meet the necessary floods and safety requirements. The reason for the flood hazard elevations is for safety, and so that's what we're trying to meet here with this design. So I think that's really my direct testimony, unless anyone has questions. I think there was one other comment. I think there's some question about the need for flood vents. I think I saw that in one of the comments. Flood vents are usually required for any space that is below design flood elevation. If it is enclosed, as this is, you are required to have flood vents. So that is a requirement under the flood hazard rules. I think that there was some attempt to try to integrate them with the design. I'm sure that there could be some changes in colors, but the flood vents are a standard feature for any new development within the flood hazard zone, and they would be required for this application.
Thank you, Caroline.
Do any commissioners have questions for either Jensen or for Caroline?
I mean, I guess I have a comment, I guess, for Jensen. It's maybe also a question about the sort of score line between the two units to make it read more like two separate row houses. I just wonder if the proposal to do essentially something the thickness of a mortar joint is, I just don't know if that's sufficient. I can't remember which commissioners had comments about this at the last meeting. But something like a full stretcher, a full header brick recessed back, where we could get some shadow, maybe something like that. I don't know if a detail like that would be possible here, so that it reads a little bit more separate. You do get the shadow line and a little more depth.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner Gunther. That would be possible. And you could actually combine the two too and have the two header courses set back on both sides, because it is that way you've got a border, if that helped reinforce it too. But yeah, you could set the last half brick back. And that would create that separation as well. Just trying to think of because it's exactly the middle of the building. If you do the recess, you probably want to do it on maybe one side or both sides, just to make it because the front facade is essentially in the same plane. So, but yes, you're right. There's another possibility there that I could see.
That might just be a detail to work out with staff if this does move forward. But I just feel like this small score line maybe isn't sufficient.
Fair enough.
Any other questions or comments from any commissioners? Okay.
I don't have anything.
Should we move to open public comment then?
Yep, sounds good. If there are any members of the public wishing to speak regarding this application, just as we did before, if you could use the raise hand function at the bottom of your screen. Staff sees no members of the public raising their hands and recommends a motion to open and close public comment.
Motion to open and close public comment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, Jensen, if you could just stop sharing your screen for a moment. Thank you. And we will move into staff comments, and I am just going to try to share my screen. Can everyone see my screen?
I can see it.
Okay, great. So I'm just going to move down into the staff comments. I did provide some staff comments on this, I think, the first time we met, since I met and spoke regarding this application. Since they have made some updates, I have revised my staff report. So I think a lot of the things that they have done have been successful in making this building slightly more appropriate for the surrounding context, but I do think that it's to a varying level, and I think there are still a few issues that need to be worked out. I understand Caroline's point about the vents needing to be there. I am admittedly a little confused if the area is not going to be used, right? If it's below flood elevation, and I believe a majority of that area is being filled in. I don't think the previous presentation had the flood prints on the front, so their addition seems to be out of place. And I know there was a suggestion from the HPC commissioners that kind of blind windows be used on that first floor. I think if that was the attempt for the flood vents, I think there could be more successful iterations of that. If there is a requirement as far as that area being used for something and then being required, that's a separate thing, but staff was under the assumption that that area was being filled and not being used. I think the alterations to the fenestration patterns definitely help to create a more uniform pattern within the block and pick up on that continuity that's existing. Jensen addressed some of them as far as the upper cornice levels and the fourth floor windows. I do think that shortening the fourth floor windows could help just make that upper portion look a little less tall. There is also staff believes that the Florida ceiling heights on the floors above base flood elevation could be reduced slightly further, reducing the building by additional foot. And then as far as the rendering and the vertical score line, those were both addressed with testimony tonight. Overall, staff still finds that the proposal presented and the requested variances would amount to an adverse effect just due to the items that have not been addressed, as well as the height that is still staff believes could be further reduced. And staff's recommendation would be a motion to deny the application and not recommend the approval to the zoning board under the following items. Alternatively, if HPC finds that the project as proposed will not cause an adverse effect on the character and integrity of the historic district, they can issue an approval for the certificate of appropriateness and recommendation to the Jersey City Zoning Board of Adjustment with the conditions listed out in the staff report. Based on Commissioner Gunther's comment, staff would then also recommend a condition that they address the score line to provide further width to it.
Could I ask Jensen to just provide some testimony on the flood vents, whether they're code driven, best practice driven,
yeah,
or
so
otherwise?
We were discussing the blank wall at the hearing. What happened is there was a discussion about the blank wall at the bottom floor being out of context and not having life. And then when we were sitting down, Carolyn and I were discussing it, and I said, oh, it needs flood vents anyways. So if I can show you my screen again, there's a crawl space there that extends. There's a slab that happens at grade level, and then there's the first floor. So there's about a 30, I can show you if that helps. But
and could you clarify when you say we need flood vents? Can you just cite is it IBC? Is it what is the driving regulatory framework?
It's DEP. Yeah, DEP. It's DEP. It's anything below, and it happened to us. So it happened to us on another job, which is not far from here, which is 46 Coles outside of the district, but it also needed flood vents. So that is that also was, went through, but it was picked up. So this all came out of those discussions. That's why it wasn't on the first iteration. It just happened. Like we started discussing it and we caught it. So the crawl space is 3'8.5". There is a small, on the plan you saw, there's like a sprinkler meter pit. It's not the entire portion. It's just this little front room. That's for the sprinkler stuff that's allowed to be submersible, and the gas meters and water meters that are allowed to be submersible. The rest of it is all crawl space. So it's open, and if it's open, you need to relieve the hydrostatic pressure somehow. So the flood vents, which we added, are the way.
And can you provide a little bit of detail on what drives the area? It looks like the area on the rear facade, there's 3 of them, adds up to more than what's on the front facade. Is the area driven by code?
Yeah, it's one flood vent per 200 square feet. We have 953 square feet, so technically we need 5. So it's an odd number. And then also when you did the elevation, because we had the 2 windows open, we put them here, and then my client actually said this, that they wanted to do, that their window was mentioned, so we put a window over it. It's not in the rendering because it came in, so the comment came in late, but we could certainly add a window up above it, above the flood vent, if that makes it more palatable, and it would, it would be a taller opening. But it wasn't, we didn't see it the first time, and it was part of the discussion at the hearing. That's why I wasn't on the first iteration.
Thank you for the clarifications.
Sure.
Any further questions or comments from any commissioners? I can share my screen again.
So
Michael, zoom in a little bit.
Yes.
There we go. Thanks.
I wanted to go on record and say I'm confused. I'm a little confused about or conflicted about the top of the structure. It's like the entire floor. I understand that it's within, given the variance, it would be within the standard set, but I don't think it fits with the rest of the character of the building. I don't think it fits with the rest of the character of the neighborhood. As you said, you said it's a little overpowering. I understand there can't be a lineup because of the new flood vents, but I would have trouble voting for this to be approved if there's that extra floor. If it's economically necessary, I'd say I'd like some testimony on that, because otherwise it's not something I can vote for.
I'd also like to agree mostly with what Jonathan just stated. I think we all understand the requirement for raising the building, let's say a half of story, due to the flood requirements. But the additional floor on top, it's now a 4-story building. That is not the paradigm at the block, even if it didn't bump up a half floor for flooding. And it's a little bit out of it overwhelms the block. The rendering where you see it from the corner, like, sort of emphasizes that even more. I don't know that the little changes that are recommended by staff to make it slightly shorter are going to help all that much. And regarding like investment and disinvestment, that's sort of not our purview. And how the project is financed, we're really looking at this only in terms of its appropriateness in its context. And I don't think it, as it's currently presented, it's appropriate with the extra floor.
I guess if we're sort of deliberating prior to voting, I would personally be comfortable voting to approve the project as shown. I take the points and listen in the staff report, and with great respect, I think they're valid points, but I don't know. The height doesn't bother me. I appreciate the way that it's folded in the flood requirements. I appreciate the articulation of the top is different from the lower 3 stories. I find the application appropriate.
I agree with Austin. While I can see that there's quite a few buildings that are 3-story on the block, when I look at Street View, there's 2 4-story buildings facing this lot on the same block, and they're not trying to mitigate that top story either. appreciate the work that the architect did to try and minimize the impact of that fourth story, but I would have actually found it acceptable. My building in Van Voorst neighborhood has 2 4-story buildings on either side of it, and it's a 3-story building. I think it adds to the texture of the neighborhood. I know that, well, some people disagree. I find it too acceptable.
Any other comments from commissioners?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the application, actually with the addition, with the additional condition that Commissioner Gunther outlined regarding the articulation of the score line. But I'd like to make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Who was that seconded it? Sorry.
Chairman Garriga.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. I'll take a roll call vote. Again, this is to approve with the conditions in the staff report and recommend to the Jersey City Zoning Board of Adjustment, along with that additional condition regarding the score line. Commissioner Sandkamp.
I vote aye.
Commissioner Gunther.
I'm going to vote no, citing section 345-71, H2B and H2I for building height and scale of buildings.
Thank you. Commissioner Sakong.
Aye.
Commissioner Gordon.
I vote nay, as with Commissioner Gunther citing B for building height and scale.
Thank you. Commissioner Edgecombe.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I vote aye. In favor. I agree with Commissioner Sakong on all the things he mentioned.
Thank you. Commissioner Kay.
I vote no. Referring back to my previous comments, aligning with 345 dash the previously cited section in our guide. So,
thank you. Commissioner Karbach.
I vote nay, also citing, also on basis of the beforehand cited reasons, the building height and the scale.
Thank you. Vice Chair Cronin.
I vote aye.
And Chair Garriga.
Sorry. I'm gonna vote aye. It's been vacant way too long. And I'm going to take into consideration the flood zone.
Thank you. So we have 5 against, 5 for, no against. Sorry, let me start that over. 5 in favor, 4 against, no abstentions. The certificate of appropriateness and recommendation to the Jersey City Zoning Board of Adjustment is approved. Thank you.
Have a great night.
Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate everybody's hard work on this. Thank you very much. All commission. You also, Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. If we want to go ahead and call the next case.
That's going to be case H-24. Sorry, guys. H-24-0171. Applicant Stephen Joseph, Esquire, on behalf of 6 Gifford LLC owner, address 577 Bergen Ave, aka 6 Gifford Ave, block 17801, lot 36, zone R3, West Bergen, East Lincoln Park Historic District, for the certificate of appropriateness for the proposed subdivision of lot 36 into 2 lots and the rehabilitation of the existing altered contributing 2.5-story 4-bay colonial revival style brick dwelling built circa 1915 in the West Bergen, East Lincoln Park Historic District. Recommendation to the Jersey City Planning Board carried from the regular HPC meeting of June 15th, 2026 at the request of the applicant.
Great. Good evening, everyone. Stephen Joseph for the applicant here. We do have two experts this evening. If we get them promoted as well, we have Ahmed Amara and Carolyn Worstel.
Okay. Working on that. While we are working on promoting panelists, Michael, do you want to go through the commissioner eligibility and get that squared away?
Yes, Stephen, I apologize. I forgot to send the commissioners that were absent last meeting, the recording, and the transcript. But
you never have to say sorry to me, ever. You do enough.
I still apologize. But Commissioner K was on top of it and read and watched the video of his own accord. So if you feel comfortable with him voting, he will be eligible to vote on it tonight. One of the commissioners that was here last time was Commissioner Gucciardo, who is not here tonight. And then I believe the other two commissioners that were not here last time that are here tonight were Commissioner Sakong as well as Commissioner Cronin and Commissioner Sankep. Okay.
Sorry. I have eligible voters as Commissioner Gunther, Commissioner Gordon, Commissioner Edgecombe, Commissioner Kay, Commissioner Callback, and Commissioner Garriga. So we have 6 eligible voters on this. I can't tell if I'm having a tech issue or if Carolyn is not populating in attendees.
She should.
I never left the panelist. I'm still here.
She's here. She should set the camera off.
So much easier. Okay. And explains a lot. Perfect. In that case, Ahmed, let me give you the ability to share your screen.
And I should swear in Carolyn again.
I think Carolyn is going to be going first. Is that correct?
Carolyn is going to be going first. That's right. That's right. So,
wait. Swear her in, please. Carolyn, raise your right hand, please. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give in this proceeding will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. If you could state your name again, spell your name, and provide your address.
Sure. Carolyn Worstel, last name Worstell. Address is 30 Montgomery Street, Suite 510, Jersey City, New Jersey.
And if Ahmed can please raise your right hand now so I can swear you in also. Do you swear or affirm the testimony about to give in this proceeding is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So
I do.
If you can lower your hand, please state your name, spell your last name, and provide your business address.
Sure. My name is Ahmed Amara. First name is Ahmed. Last name is Emara. Amara Gabriel Architects, 1050 Wall Street West, Lyndhurst, New Jersey.
Thank you.
All right, great. So I think what we're going to do for the first part of this is Carolyn's going to walk us through the subdivision component of this project. We did a whole bunch of research on the history of this area with a whole lot of help from historic staff. And I think it will be helpful for the commission to understand how this area has developed over time, how some of the recent zoning changes impact what can be developed in this area, and to understand what we are actually asking for in terms of the subdivision. Carolyn has some exhibits to show, so we could mark them, but most of this is either historic maps or zoning maps, aerial maps. It's things that are generally available. So Carolyn, if you want to kind of take it away from there, and then we could regroup when you finish your piece of it.
Sure. Hold on just one moment. Trying to organize my screen so I can see what I need to see. Okay. And let me see, share. All right, can everyone, oh, hold on, I have to share. There we go. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
So, so I'm sorry, Caroline, just before we jump into this, let's mark this. Yeah, let's mark this for the record. I think we're on A1. I don't think we've marked anything previously.
I think so.
Yeah. So, and if you don't mind, Carolyn, just describing each one of the exhibits, how many pages it is,
Guys, hold
and
on.
date on it.
This is actually A2.
This is A2.
In the May meeting, we had marked the renders as A1.
Got it. The renderings. Okay. I apologize. So A2. Yeah. And again, Carolyn, just describe what it is, number of pages, and date on it if there's a date.
Sure. So it's a 2-page exhibit dated July 13th of 2026. The first page includes historic maps versus existing current zoning map to show the sort of the evolution of the lot structure on this block. And then the second one is a zoning map comparing zoning in 2023 versus the current zoning, which was a result of, you know, the most recent zoning changes that the city has been working its way through.
Great.
Okay. So I guess I'll start with the first page. So again, you know, this project is looking at the subdivision of the existing lot. It is sort of an irregular shaped corner flag lot where you have a deeper portion off of Gifford Avenue. And then you have sort of a larger portion here at the corner of Gifford and Bergen Avenue. Historically, you can see this is a 1911 Sanborn map. And you can sort of see, and it embedded, I think it's actually outlined in the one directly adjacent to it as well. It went from one lot here at the corner with that sort of the rear portion of the flag lot. It was actually part of a lot over here on Belmont Avenue. At some point in the last 100 years, I'm not exactly sure when, but sometime between 1911 and today, there was some significant changes in the subdivision and development here at the end of this block. You know, where once upon a time there was a very large home with probably maybe stables or an outbuilding of some kind in the rear. It was subdivided into the smaller homes here on Gifford Avenue, I believe developed probably sometime in the 60s, so mid-century. And then with a large lot here, as well as at the corner, you know, these two lots were sort of subsumed within the lots on either side. There are two larger apartment buildings here at the corner that did sort of utilize those larger lots. So that just sort of gives you a little bit of history about the context of this lot. You know, it was not always one lot as it is in today's, you know, configuration. It was part of the changing history of this end of the block. Moving on to the second page. This talks about the zoning in the surrounding neighborhood. So the brown outline here is the outline of the West Bergen East Lincoln Park Historic District. So that is that brown outline that snakes through this sort of section of the page. And as you can see, prior to the rezoning change in 2023, there were a number of different zoning districts within that you know, a historic district. There was, oh, here, I think this is like around Bergen, you know, it's the R3, but you had significant sections of R1, R1A, and whatnot. So there was some different zones throughout. With the most recent zoning change, here coming in to look at what's here in 2025, there was that zoning change in the 2021 master plan, which recommended the creation of the RH1 and RH2 districts to replace the R1A district. And you can see, you know, that it did replace the R1A, but there are sections here that were R1 that were also rezoned and placed into the RH2 and RH1 zones here within the historic district. Our particular lot that is here as part of this application right here at this corner. Throughout this zoning change, even with, you know, all these changes and looking at the city, looking at how they wanted to address these zones, this lot did not change zoning. It is and always was in the R3 between 2023 and today. So the zoning itself did not change as part of this overall master planning efforts within the historic district.
And Carolyn, what's the biggest difference I'd say from going from the R1 to the RH2 or any of the RH districts?
Right. You know, obviously, historically, R1 was that 1 and 2 family homes. Today, it's now the R1 is the neighborhood housing. So it's not limited to 1 and 2 family homes. The RH1 and the RH zones, both 1 and 2, are really designed to maintain those sort of larger lot patterns of development in certain areas. So RH1 residential housing district is specifically large lots. Intent was to preserve the pattern, quality, and architectural individuality of existing detached 1 and 2 unit structures and discourage subdivision and demolition. RH2, which was typical lots, was again to preserve that pattern and to discourage subdivision and demolition. So that was intent of those 2 RH zones was to discourage subdivision, where this property is in the R3 zone, which does not have any sort of prohibition or intent to prevent subdivision. The R3 multi-unit mid-rise district, its purpose is to provide for a broad range of multi-unit housing in areas served by arterial streets, mass transit, neighborhood commercial uses, and community facilities. The purpose of the zone is to relate the building to the street and not to create the type of development that centers a tower and a sea of parking, disconnected from the building and street. Multi-unit mid-rise district contains mid-rise buildings of 3 to 8 stories and regulates height and density by lot size. So, you know, minimum lot width within the R3 zone is 20 feet. There is no minimum lot depth, but you have a minimum lot area of 2,000 square feet. So that's what the R3 zone is intended for.
And both of the lots that we're creating here exceed the minimum requirements in terms of lot area, lot width.
Yeah, do you want me to pull up the subdivision plan, Stephen?
Yes, please.
Okay. So I don't believe this needs to be marked. It is the subdivision. Again, this to reorient, this is Bergen Avenue, this is Gifford. So this is sort of the flag portion, and this is sort of like the pole that goes to the deep end. The proposed subdivision essentially takes that rear lot line back here and it just brings it forward to the street. It creates a lot that is 25 feet wide, or approximately 25 feet wide, with a lot area of 3,215 square feet. So that is, it actually exceeds the minimum standards for the R3 zone. And then obviously the larger portion of the lot would remain here at the corner. That would be 7,290 square feet. And that would have, looks like that it maintains the width on Bergen Avenue of 73.24 feet. And would have a length along Gifford Avenue of 96.61 feet. So again, it it is exceeding the minimum standards for the R3 zone, and was really designed to site and house the existing structure that is thereon.
Great.
And I think that's the end of my direct testimony, unless Stephen, was there anything else that you wanted me to hit on or address, or if there's any
No,
questions?
I think you hit on that. Does the commission have any questions for Caroline before we move into Ahmed? No. Okay. All right. So we've just heard how this area and this law in particular has kind of developed over time. We've heard how the zoning changed to protect some of the existing properties from subdivision in the area, not within the R3 zone, within the R1 zones in the surrounding area. I think we'd like to have Ahmed now walk through some of the modifications that we made in response to the board's comments on the existing building that's there, and talk about how that fits in.
I'm happy to share my screen, so I'm just gonna go ahead and do that. Please let me know once you see it. I believe you see it now. So good evening, commissioners. I presented to you this project, I believe last month, and you had a few comments for us, and we took those comments, went back and studied the design a little bit more and did some more research. I also walked the area a couple of times actually and looked at many of the surrounding buildings, and also met with staff, specifically Michael, to talk about this and what updates, restoration moves can we make to bring this to its as close as possible to what it originally was. And we all did look at the photo document last time that was floating on the internet, and we had that already and looked at it, but also went and checked out the West Bergen, East Lincoln document, which is I want to bring it up. I'll bring it up in a second. Which basically, it's not a document part of the zoning, but it also talks about recommended ways of restoring buildings and what the area is, what it used to be and what recommendations would make to restore buildings or reconstruct. So we looked at all of that, and one of the things that we decided to do, and I want to talk to you about the drawing first, but then we do have a presentation, and we would label that, I guess, A3. And I want to talk to you about a few things, and then I'll go into detail about what we did exactly. The first thing we did was we redesigned basically all the windows here to go as closely as possible to what it was originally was, based on photographic evidence, but also the study into colonial revival style in the late 20th century. And then we also looked at the door and what the door was and what we think would bring it back to what originally was. And we looked at that too, and I'll show that design in a few minutes. And then the third thing we did was also look at all the lighting around the property. There was a comment made about that, about, don't put too much lighting on historic buildings, and we agree. And we studied what we could do to meet the egress requirements, but also don't add too many lights, anything, honestly, on the building, so keep it as preserved as possible. So those were three main elements we discussed, and I'm gonna ask that we look at this presentation that we prepared just to show some of the work that we did here, and this would be A3, Stephen. Maggie, I don't know if you're the one.
Can you just say how many pages it is?
Sure.
And
It's 12 pages.
12 pages, and this is a presentation set made up mostly of information that's already within your plans.
Correct. Yes, with some information from the West Bergen East Lincoln document, and also a couple of images that we were able to find for the building itself.
Thank you.
So going through this, and I'll try to be precise and short with this, so I don't take too much time, because I know we discussed this before. But I do want to focus on the changes and why they were made. The first change I discussed with the windows, and I'm going to go down to the slide here. With the windows, what we found in the picture were the 6 over a large pane of glass, and there's 3 types or 4 types that you could look at, which is the 6 over 6, the 8 over 8, and then the 6 over a pane of glass. And that's something that we discussed with also staff, and we believe that this was the closest to what the house once looked like. Even though in this image, and if I can just click on this so I can zoom in a little bit, in this image you'll see that they have it here, but not on top. And we don't believe that these were the original windows on top, but these were probably very close, if not the original windows on the house. So that being said, this is just a blow up of what that is. It breaks it up exactly, and then that, the idea that new windows must match the historic windows in terms of configuration, operation, detail, material, and finish. So they would be wood, they would be white as the image shows, but also historically speaking, colonial revival, most of the windows on a building like this would have been white. They're wood windows. Also no tracks in the glass. So, the thinner basically sashes, I should say, not the wider ones that are more modern right now. And this is sort of the drawing that we take out of this document. This is the image, and this is the final elevation with the windows here. Next step was the door. And again, we went down the same sort of route of research and looked at many different types of doors from the colonial revival era, and the ones that made the most sense, also looking at the image, and we believe along with staff that this door in this image was not the original door. So we went back and again discussed what would be the closest to what originally was, and we have some photo examples here of what we think it was. One full pane of glass on top that's broken into sections here, but it's one. There's no corner, here this going up, and there's no like the verticals did not cut the horizontal. The horizontal was on top, and then the 2 verticals on the sides. This again is the moment here, and then this is a blow up of what we did with the window, with the door. I'm sorry. We would basically go back to this transom idea that is 1 horizontal, the 2 verticals on the side, outside of the jamb would also be broken up. The door itself would have wood panel. The wood itself in the door would be inset. These would not be painted on or added onto it. And then 2 pieces of glass on top as well. This style we believe was the closest to what was there. The threshold is not a thicker one as the newer one would show, and there's no change in color at the bottom, so we would want to use the same material at the bottom as well. This was the second change that we had looked at, discussed, and did a bunch of research to arrive at this. I do want to mention what was written in the West Bergen East Lincoln Park Historic District, which is the replacement doors should match the original in design, size, proportion, material, color, texture, profile, and configuration. And this is exactly what we attempt to do with using the historic photographs that we were able to find, and also studying this era as recommended by staff. The third thing that we did was were the lights, and I want to share the civil drawings that were also updated to reflect this, so we can show the changes. Previously, we had 2 lights in the front above the stair, 2 lights in the front here to illuminate this, and 2 lights here, 2 lights here, and then this light, and 2 lights along this, and 2 lights in the back. What we've done is we've actually eliminated the light along this facade completely, just to orient everybody. This is Gifford Bergen So along Gifford, which is the main entrance of the house, we don't have any lights on this wall anymore. This light is actually lower by the stair, and it's going to shine towards the stair. So that's one way to resolve this egress line here. This here, we basically looked at if you're coming out and wrapping to the exterior. As soon as you get here, there's also street lights. So this light is sufficient on this side. Instead of two here, we're able to get one, which is also going to be sufficient. One under the stair, one along this wall, and one in the back facing Bergen. On the other side, we have also just one where the entrance of the back of the building is, and one where the stair is. And I want to show you this also on the elevations, so it is clear what I am describing. There is nothing on this facade anymore. The one it's here. And while there was an existing, currently existing light, but the current existing light is not the historic fixture that was there, and it doesn't resemble it. And in discussions with staff also, we did mention that we would use a simpler light that sort of just disappears on the facade, that white color, and small enough so it does not bring attention to itself. And so this is the one we're talking about here. Again, no lights on this side, one on this elevation here. So on this, basically the front facade, there's only one that's behind the rails here and one along this. I want to go down to, this is the existing. And then on this elevation, again, there's the one here by the stairs and one along this, which lights up around this door also on the stairs here. And then the other side, the east elevation, is one here and then one here where we have the bottom stair here that's below grade. And finally, the this is the rear, yes. The rear elevation is the one here by the the rear elevation here by the west side. The east side, I'm sorry, is here by the stairs that's at the bottom. So those were the changes to the elevations that we did. As discussed last time, the brick is repaired as needed and only as needed. The windows would be replaced in the same exact rough openings. We would not be changing these openings. The lights have been eliminated. The door, most of the lights, I should say, have been eliminated. The door proposed now is a door that we believe fits the style of the house and also the era in which it was originally built. And then the final thing was there was a question about the graffiti or the mural that's on this side that would be removed. Those are the changes that we done based on basically our research and the historic image that we were able to find. I'm happy to take any questions.
Anyone? Guys are making me nervous. No questions.
Any commission question?
All right, and I think that concludes our direct testimony here. I think you heard from Carolyn about the subdivision. There's no variances. It's not in a zone that's designed to prevent subdivisions, and the lots will be more than conforming or oversized, in fact. And did quite a bit of research into the history of the property on that. And Ahmed and Michael did a ton of research on what would be appropriate in terms of door and the windows, and worked together on the lighting. And I think we've refined this together over the last several months. So that does conclude our direct presentation here.
Thank you. If that concludes, then we will move into public comment. If there are any members
Michael,
of the
should we
public,
move into public comment?
I think you're behind me for a minute, Maggie.
As always, this evening. All right. If there are any members of the public who are present who would like to speak regarding this application, please use the raise hand function at the bottom of your screen. If you are calling in on the phone, you can use *9. I do see some hands raised. So, Ahmed, if you wouldn't mind removing your screen share, I'll just quickly review how we handle public comment. So we will promote you to panelist. We will swear you in. And then you will get 5 minutes to address the commission. I will let you know when you have 1 minute remaining. And then at the end of your 5 minutes, you may finish the sentence that you are on, and then we do cut you off. All questions that you have should be addressed to our board chair. Staff, so myself and Michael, will be writing down all of these questions. These can be questions for staff. These can be questions for the professionals who provided testimony this evening. But we will write all of them down and we will go through them at the end of public comment. We will not answer them in real time. We will go through them once we close public comment. So that being said, staff sees 7 hands raised. So why don't we make a motion to open public comment?
I'll make the motion to open public comment.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Charlene, I see your hand raised first, so I'm going to promote you. All right. One more note as well. You will have to accept the promotion to panelist when we reach you for public comment. All right. Charlene, let us know when you can see yourself, unmute yourself, things like that.
Okay. Maggie, I had emailed a map that I asked would be.
Charlene, can you? There we go.
I need to swear you in, please.
Oh, sure.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear or affirm the testimony about to give in this proceeding is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Thank you. You can lower your hand. Please state your name, spell it, and provide your address.
Charlene Burke, CharleneBurke, 56 Duncan Avenue.
Okay. Staff notes. Charlene had provided a map to be used and shared during public comment this evening. We are going to mark this map as B1, and the title of this map is 1919 GM Hopkins Atlas, 46 Gifford Ave.
I can pull it.
I'm going to share that on my screen. Once we confirm that everyone can see it, Charlene, I'll start your time. Is that acceptable?
Yes, of course.
Great. Just probably going to take me a minute to share my screen.
Take your time.
I could share mine, Maggie, and then
let's hold on. Yeah, Michael, actually I think you're gonna have to, because
I have it up, so we're good.
Thank you.
No problem. Can everyone see it?
Yes.
Good.
Right. And can you just focus on that, the lot that is the one we're discussing?
That is the best that I can.
The pink, right. The pink one on the corner. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay, Charlene, your time begins now.
Okay, good evening, commissioners, and thank you. The introduction to the official design guidelines for the West Bergen East Lincoln Park Historic District overlay describes the district as, quote, having a distinguished architectural character and represents important aspects of the social history of Jersey City. As a whole, the historic district maintains a high degree of integrity of setting and design, since the spatial relationships among the individual buildings, streetscapes, and layout of the streets have been maintained, unquote. The Historic District Guidelines explicitly address landscaping because the district consists predominantly of freestanding homes with prominent front yards and yards are viewed as a core component of the district's historic streetscape character. Corresponding to the early 1660s Dutch colonial pattern of landholding, these large, deep residential parcels allowed for expansive historic houses and accompanying landscaping that defined the upscale streetcar suburb. They consistently exceed Jersey City's standard 25 by 100 property footprint. 6 Gifford Avenue is a contributing historic resource to this district. It is defined in the Historic District Guidelines glossary as a building, structure, or object that adds to the historical integrity or architectural qualities that make this historic district significant. The building faces Gifford and has a frontage of 121 feet, confirmed by the 1919 Plat Book of Jersey City. This setting is integral to the historic structure, and removing the side yard with a subdivision negatively impacts the integrity of the individual resource and the district's character. I would urge the commissioners to deny the subdivision. The Historic District Overlay explicitly protects against subdivision of an original historic resource listed as contributing through protection. Sorry, my cat's involved here. Contributing through protection means mandating a strict review process by you, the commissioners. Under Jersey City's land development ordinance, and the rules of the Historic Preservation Commission, a contributing historic resource receives maximum legal safeguards. The overlay protects more than just the physical walls of a house. It actively protects the historic lot pattern and the spatial context. For a contributing property, the plot boundaries, the lawns, the setbacks are legally viewed as part of the overall historic asset. To divide a lot containing a contributing resource, you must act with a strong presumption against actions that compromise the historic integrity by asking these questions. Does cutting up the lot alter the original context or architectural setting of the main building? Does the subdivision trigger an encroachment or pave the way for a visually intrusive modern infill? And lastly, Secretary of Interior's standard guidelines dictate that distinguishing original qualities, landscape layout, and overall environment of a contributing structure must not be destroyed. That is why this subdivision should be denied. Thank you. I'm sorry my cat was getting involved in the enthusiasm of my commentary. But you can see, based upon this lot, that yes, that little flag was not included originally, but that frontage, that 121 feet, was there when the house was built. 1915. This is a 1919 map. So please understand that that context is very important to our historic district, and our overlay, certainly as far as all of us who were involved in getting that overlay installed, were believing that this was going to prevent actions like this. Thank you.
Thanks, Charlene. Okay. Michael, if you want to pull back the screen share. All right. The next hand I see raised is Colin. Colin, I'm going to go ahead and promote you. And Colin, perfect. There you go. All right, we'll swear you in.
raising my right hand.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony about to give in this proceeding is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Please state your name, spell your name, and provide your address.
It's Colin Egan. That's Colin. Last name Egan, Egan, at 35 Sherman Place in Jersey City.
Thank you.
All right, Colin, your time starts now.
I want to thank the architect for the revisions to the work of the renovating the existing house. I would add a couple quick explanations. The reason that the photos they have don't show the multi-light upper sash windows in the dormer is because the dormer was not original to the house. It was added by the Bergen School, as far as I know, when they bought it around 1960. I have found several other photos, which I'll share with the office, that just confirm the multi-light upper sash on all of the original windows on all sides. And I guess that's just one thing I wanted to clarify, that was being done on all sides or all elevations, because the drawing we saw tonight was just one. I'm assuming it is. I just wanted to double check about that. I wanted to mention, if it would be nice if when they're doing the renovation on the inside of the building, if they check to see if a couple of I believe there were at least 2 original fireplace mantles still exist, and perhaps they could be preserved. But generally speaking, I thank them very much for the attention they paid to our concerns and that the commission had last week. As to the subdivision, really not much more I think anyone needs to say other than what Charlene said. If you look at the 1919 map, that open space, most of it, certainly the part fronting off of Gifford, was there. It was there as part of the design of the original design of the house, and it's been how the house has been seen and affected or set a look to the neighborhood ever since. I understand about R3, but that's what I thought the historic district was intended to address. If this was R3 elsewhere, I think they might have an argument. It's R3 in a historic district overlay. And if the overlay doesn't then make you look back and at the requirements of the historic district, which, as Charlene said, is to maintain the existing historic open spaces and the relationship of historic structures to other structures and to open space, I don't know what the purpose of the overlay is. If you build a large the building that's proposed on that lot, you're going to fundamentally change the view plane that the house is seen by, and you're going to wind up putting a large blank wall overbearing it all along behind, if you will, that building from Bergen Avenue. I got out my coloring and my crayons and colored in the open line drawings that the developer provided of his building. And if you do that, you see you've got quite a scale and massing going on behind this historic structure. It's not original. And I can't see how that is acceptable in the historic district. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Colin. Okay. Let's see. Next hand I see raised is Chris. Chris, I'm going to go ahead and promote you. And Chris, just let us know when you're able to unmute.
Hello.
So we can swear you in.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony about to give in this proceeding is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. If you state your name, please, spell your name and provide your address.
Sure. It's Christopher Perez, Perez, 185 Carteret Avenue.
All right, Chris, your time begins now.
I'll be short and sweet. So one of the questions that I had was with regard to the windows. I appreciate the project team working to dig into the history and try to find the best references to bring this property back to its original state. But I was a little confused about the windows and what kind of windows we're using. Are they going to be wood? Are they going to be single pane with the muttons over the glass? Are they going to be true divided lights? I'd like to learn a little bit more about the windows. I was also a little concerned about the roof balustrade design. I'm wondering if that is exactly what it should look like, and if staff or the commission had any thoughts about that. It just seems a little I don't know what, something seems a little off there. So I wanted to bring some attention there. And then finally, the most concerning part is the subdivision. As Charlene expressed far better than I could this evening, one of the key characteristics of a historic property is setting. And this property was built on a lot that is very close to the lot dimensions that we see today. It has been altered slightly in the back northwest corner, which is not original. It was extended as the expert had explained earlier, but the frontage is the same. And by subdividing this lot and then putting a site so close to the historic asset, it's going to disrupt the sight lines of the property. So I urge the commission to not approve the subdivision because I think it comes at great consequence to the setting of the site. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Okay, the next hand I see raised is Sharon. I will promote you. And again, once you're able to join and unmute yourself.
Hello. Do I need to swear in again?
I think so. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony about to give in this proceeding is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Thank you. You don't have to restate your address. I have it from before. Thank you.
Okay. So I was at the, sorry, I was at the June meeting regarding this application and the rest that night as well. And I have to say that from what I see with the treatment of the doors and the windows and the lighting being looked at closer and from a more historic lens, I was pleased to see those changes. I do agree with Chris Perez that those materials could be further elaborated upon and discussed, just so we know what exactly is happening there. But I also wanted to say that right after the meeting last month, I was so inspired by this application that I walked up there with my husband and just to feel the space because, it's so different from Google. And one thing that I noticed is there are these beautiful tiles on the exterior on the chimney. And they are so beautiful that I'm very concerned that with the subdivision and a property that would be right on the property line, that those sightlines will be completely gone and that some of what contributed to making this a contributing property to the HD 11 years ago when the HD was created will be diminished or basically made invisible. So we don't want our history invisible, whether it's cultural or architectural, and that is concerning. The other thing that I noticed is that there are some 1950s apartments, down Gifford, and there are also some very large apartments that were added at some point in between the, when this building was created in 1911 or 1915 and 1950s. And the subdivision, it is hard to talk about this application when there's a co-application for subdivision. And basically with what's proposed as part of the subdivision application, it would create a wall. And I think that's what Colin was referring to, if I'm not mistaken, but it would basically be isolating this property within the HD on sort of its own island, walled off from the rest of the HD, where it makes less visual and cultural sense and architectural sense. And it would be on an island with the White Victorian across the street from it on Bergen. So that is a concern. I also wanted to ask if there have been any meetings with the neighborhood groups in this area, because I am part of a neighborhood group, the McGinley Square Community Board, and we basically started 3 years ago because there was no neighborhood group in this pocket where I live, and there's always a need for more discussions with community and community voice. I also wanted to talk about some of the testimony that was provided by the planner was along the lines of, at some point many decades ago, there was a partial subdivision of what the original lot encompassed, almost like suggesting that implicitly perhaps that it's been done before and it could be done now and that would be appropriate. However, it's important to note that there was no historic district yet at that point. So, and there is now, there is today. So I think that that's a really critical piece to take note of. In the prior application, it was mentioned that X, Y, and Z would be permittable or allowable if it wasn't an HD, but it was an HD. And again, here it's saying that subdivisions were allowed before an HD, and that was before the HD. It is now, in fact, an HD. Let's see, what else? The subdivision affects what was deemed historically relevant and defining and valuable, and what made this a contributing property. And furthermore, I also think that, the interior, building more housing into the area is valuable. And so creating 7 units inside the interior is a thoughtful move. And if not subdivided, the people, the 7 families or 7 households that move into this property once it's, thoughtfully restored would probably really appreciate having that extra green space and a shared communal space outdoors, similar to what is expressed throughout the rest of the architectural district. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. Okay, the next hand I see raised is Esther. I'm going to promote you as a panelist.
Okay, I'm here. Do you see me?
All right, Esther, let's get you
I'm
sworn
here.
in.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony about to give in this proceeding is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Can you please state your name, spell your name, and provide your provide your address?
My name is Esther Wintner, Esther. Last name Wintner, 91 Bentley Avenue in Jersey City.
Okay, Esther, your time begins now.
Good evening, commissioners. Thank you for your meeting. I am a resident of the Lincoln Park Historic District, and I would like to say that when the historic district was being implemented in our community, it nearly ripped this community apart. And for those who didn't want it and those that wanted it, it was a very difficult exercise. However, it has been years since it's happened, and I think the residents of the community understand the importance of that. And we've come to really understand what that means to our community when we see all this big development, small development, all these things going on around us. And there's something that I believe that we feel living in an historic district, and that's the feeling of safety. We feel that our neighborhood is safe, that we will not be impacted in the same way that we see the things going on around us. And then to hear that this is, a possibility on the table that this property could be peeled off of the house, so that a structure that sounds like it will be out of scale with the neighborhood out to the sidewalk. And I apologize, I'm not as technically savvy about all these things that maybe some of the other speakers are, or the commission. But I know what I see and I know what I feel. And I just think that that's so wrong. Leaving that space open allows us to, I know that building. I've known that building for years. There was a nursery school there. And having that space there allows, it's one of those corner spots where you drive by and it tells you you're home and it tells you you're safe. And I don't want to see this happen. It's happened all over the city. We want to keep our neighborhood safe. We want to keep our historic district the way it was intended after all that was said and done. And, the basic question is, what's the point of having an historic district if someone can come in and just say, I'd like to do this, and we hand it over? And so I feel very opposed to this, and I hope the commissioners understand how we as residents of the community feel, how we feel about our neighborhood, how we feel about our historic district, how we feel about this particular project. And we'd like to stay safe, and we hope that you, as stewards of our community, will help us to feel that way. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next hand I see raised is labeled Wolf M4 Pro. So I'm going to promote you to panelist.
Sorry about the designation.
It's okay. Go ahead and swear you in.
Sir, please state your name for the record.
My name is Scott Franklin.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this proceeding is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I so affirm.
Thank you, sir. If you can lower your hand, spell your name, and provide your address.
Scott Franklin, SCOTT, Franklin, FRANKLIN. I live at 18 Gifford Avenue, Jersey City, New Jersey, 07304-1904.
Okay. Your time begins now.
Thank you. I find it interesting that, except for a casual conversation with one of my neighbors, I did not know about this. And this lot has been roughly 4 doors down from me for 25 years. And I did not know that a lot of this was happening. So I was curious about the outreach because I don't recall seeing anything in the mail or anything like that. Second portions, I understand, and I'm minus a lot of detail, so pardon me for being ignorant here. They want to make 2 buildings in this lot? Anybody? 2 buildings? Wow. Not very happy with that idea. I actually like the look of the building, and I'm accustomed to it. I live here, and I pass it by pretty much every day. I like the open space that it offers. I do not like the portable housing they stuck back there, but I assume that that's a temporary issue after many decades. And I'm curious as to what the texture of the housing will be. I understand that they want to internally make 7 units there. I also heard some sort of, I don't want to use the word insanity, they want to put another building right next door to it, which is what I'm gathering from my neighbors and from this conversation. I do apologize for not being part of it earlier. Are we talking about things that are open to Airbnb, things like that? Or are we talking strictly family homes? That's the end of the conversation, which is something I would prefer. Any special taxation on it, one way or the other? And my question is, concerning my existing ignorance, how do I get more information, as this has been in process for months, if not years? I'm curious to this. Ms. Burke and Mr. Egan, I'm sure can offer information if I contact them, but what does the city have available to it? And these are essentially the questions I have going forward on this piece of property. I'm a little stranged out about it. I thought that if nothing else, they were simply going to renovate it, bring it back into compliance and code, and that was the end of it. But I'm told that's not the case. Those are most of my commentary right there.
Okay, great. Just as a reminder, we answer all of the questions at the end of public comment. So if you have any more questions, I know you said this is most of your questions. If you have any more, you have another 2 minutes.
I anticipate that somebody's going to bring up something and I go, oh yeah, I never even thought of that.
Okay. So we do hold public comment once during the application unless it goes furthermore. So we will do
yes,
our best.
this subdivision is concerning me greatly,
Okay.
among other things.
Okay, great. So anything built, there's 2 applications for this. So if there are questions about what's built on the subdivision and we review that this evening, we get to that application, that will also have public comment. So
that would be nice to know, and whether it's the same developer, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is there will be some of those subdivision questions can also be addressed on that public comment.
Understood. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. All right. The next hand I see raised is Ryan. I'm going to promote you, Ryan.
Hello, everyone. Are you able to hear me okay?
Yes.
Ryan,
Perfect.
please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this proceeding is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you, sir. If you state your full name, spell it, and provide your address.
My name is Ryan Vidiello, RYAN VITIELLO. My address is 20 Gifford Avenue.
Okay, Ryan, your time begins now.
Okay. I spent earlier today walking around the neighborhood, and I also looked over the plans for this planned subdivision. And the thing I noticed walking throughout the neighborhood is every building, regardless of size or age, seems to take into context the lot it's on as well as its neighbors. And the house on the corner is listed in the application to become a historic district as a key contributing property. Today, you guys showed historic maps that also showed the frontage of the lot on which this property is placed as part of the original lot. Even though the lot has added a little flag section on the back, overall, the frontage has not changed on this property. The property is following a consistent historic characteristic of this neighborhood of being plopped in the center of the lot with a grand lawn around it. Now, have there been newer buildings developed over the years? Yes, there are. But when those buildings were built, even if they appear to be lot line to lot line along the frontage of the property, all of them pull back after the first 10 to 20 feet on the lot, about 10 feet. And all of the smaller houses maintain a fairly large way between them so that your neighbors on neighboring lots maintain that context on the lot. Everyone is centered on the lot, everyone has space around it. By cutting this section of the lot off is kind of ignoring that historic context. It's ignoring that the placement on the lot matters, and it's ignoring that how you relate to the rest of the neighborhood matters too. Even though that house is in a district that is zoned for higher construction, that's not extra land. That's not space that was just needlessly tacked onto the property. It's part of the character of the property. I have photos from the vantage point that would be completely cut off that have a beautiful view of the World Trade Center lights lining up with the chimney that's going to be permanently blocked if this property is subdivided. And that's one of the things that you see and get used to in a neighborhood that has historic character. And there's little moments like that that you're kind of ignoring. As other people have mentioned, this was previously a pre-K facility, daycare. And people in this neighborhood, when I was out looking around today, made comments of their memories of kids playing there, because that is part of the historic fabric of the neighborhood. So I am glad to see there's action happening on this property, and I would love to see the original properly restored and return to service in the city and return to housing for people that need it. But I think that needs to be balanced with considering the fact that this is a historic district with a historic property in one of the more prominent locations right at the corner. And they basically want to split this property off and build a wall, completely separating it from the rest of the neighborhood, ignoring the context on the lot on which it's placed, and severing it from the rest of the street. That's to say nothing of ignoring your neighbors. The plans that I saw slams the new lot so narrow that anything built on that is going to push right up against neighboring properties, and my neighbors don't deserve to be buried in shadows because you crammed a lot in where it wasn't meant to be. I also have some questions. I've seen the plans and a lot of renderings on the exterior of the building, but my understanding is it's historically listed inside and out. I would love to see photographs of the condition of the inside of the property, and as other people have mentioned, there may be historic mantles and historic elements inside as well as out, and I would like to see care given to that as well to make sure that even if it's divided up into other units, there's care taken within the property as well as the outside and as well as the placement on the lot.
Okay. Great. Is that some end your public comment?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thanks, Ryan. All right. The next hand I see raised is labeled as neighbor. I'm going to go ahead and promote you.
Hello?
I'm sorry, sir. Please state your name for the record.
My name is Leroy Lindsay.
Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony about to give in this proceeding is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
I do.
Okay, please spell your full name and provide your address, please.
My name is Leroy Lindsay, Leroy Lindsay. I live in 12 Gifford Avenue. I am neighbor to the property, immediate adjacent.
Okay, your time begins now.
Hello all, and I'd first like to really thank our neighbors, this neighborhood and the people that care so much about this space, this place, and the ones that informed us that this was happening. We did not get any sort of notification. When I purchased this property, I had previously rented in this area and had always loved the historic district for exactly what you've heard. The character, the ways in which it did not feel like other aspects or other parts of the city. I chose to purchase here to raise my son here for exactly those reasons, that he would have a place that felt like home, places and people he would know. And also, we purchased this particular lot because I wanted to have space to see, to park, and to enjoy just the history and the characteristics of the buildings that are here. I'm here today because I am concerned as well. One of the reasons that I purchased this particular piece of property was I did actually appreciate the space in between my home and what is 6 Gifford, while I have been anxiously awaiting its restoration. I have also become aware of the request to subdivide it and potentially add another structure just adjacent to my property line. And that is not something that I ever been interested in or wanted. I do think it disrupts everything about the way in which this street flows from home to home. So I just wanted to bring that to the forefront and mention I would love to hear more about how it will be preserved internally as well. I would love to hear if there was any effort or attempt at talking with the neighborhood and getting some perspective. I would also really like to have more understanding of what would be planned if this subdivision were to go through. But I understand that that will be potentially in the next block or at another meeting. But I want to raise my concerns about this subdivision and if it actually needs to happen, given what we are describing as this historic space, its pacing and structure in regard to the block and the neighborhood and how that is done, and if it really needs to be done in consideration for what is already here and the people who live here.
Does that conclude your public comment?
It does, for
Great.
the subdivision.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. And the restoration too, I'm sorry, for this component of the application.
Restoration and this question about subdivision of this lot as a historic property, yes.
Understood. Perfect. Thank you so much. Are there any additional members of the public who would like to speak regarding this application? If so, please use the raise hand function to speak. You can also press *9 if you're on your phone and would like to address the commission. Staff sees no hands raised and recommends a motion to close public comment.
Motion to close public comment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. All right. Michael, I'm assuming you also wrote down some questions that were asked. Just quickly, I think there are two that I can just address, maybe two or three that I can just address quickly. Regarding noticing for historic preservation. Oh, I'm sorry. I do see one. Esther, I do see your hand raised. However, the public comment portion is closed, and also you had previously addressed the commission. So we can't reopen public comment, and also the time has reached on it. So I appreciate though. Okay. For historic preservation applications, there is no notice requirement. Planning board and zoning board as properties within 200 feet will typically receive a notice in the mail notifying them of a public hearing. That is not legally permitted for historic commissions. It exceeds what is permitted in the state law for noticing for preservation commissions, so we cannot do it. Objectively, we would like to, but we cannot legally mail notices to residents for certificate of appropriateness applications. We do publish our agendas on the data portal. All application materials are available online for the public to review 72 hours in advance of the meeting, usually earlier, but guaranteed 72 hours in advance of the meeting. On the agenda, all of the case numbers have hyperlinks, and that's how you can find those items. And then regarding meetings with the neighborhood group, I can allow Stephen to jump in there. However, there is no legal requirement to meet with a neighborhood association. We always, as staff, recommend that applicants do, but there is no requirement for applicants to meet with neighborhood groups. With that, Michael, you can go through the rest of the questions. Stephen, I don't know if you want to jump in on that, on opining more on that neighborhood group question.
Yeah, I could jump in on that at the end. I guess let's summarize all the questions first. I tried to take this as well.
Okay. Then we'll
So-
go through the rest of the questions. Yeah.
The first question I had down was if the windows are being changed on all of the elevations and if they were all matched that 6/1 pattern.
Should we jump in to answer these as we go through them? I think so, right? So,
Yes.
so Ahmed, if you have answers to these, let's knock some of these out.
The answer is yes. The material, I mean, should I just answer that question, Michael? Do you want me to also answer the question about the material on the glass?
Yeah, you could do them both at the same time.
Yeah. So the answer is yes, it's being changed on all the elevations. It is wood windows. The top is the 6 panel and the bottom is a single piece of glass.
Okay. And I think the other question we had twice, the fireplaces on the interior, if any of those are being retained, or if any of the other historic material on the interior of the property is being salvaged.
This is actually a conversation that we had with the project team, and I'll give you the same answer I'll give the team, and we've done several of these at this point. We will attempt definitely to keep everything. I personally love these details in them. However, it's not as easy to be able to always maintain them and keep them. If we can, we will 100% do it.
And then the only other question I believe I had written down, Stephen, you can correct me if you have any other ones, was just regarding the housing that's proposed there. I know that's generally outside of the scope of the Historic Preservation Commission, but I don't know if the team has any comments.
Yeah, I think the question of rentals versus condos, I think there hasn't been a decision made on that I'm aware of. Ahmed might be able to say something too, but I think the size of the units probably lends itself well to rentals, but some of these old buildings also work well with condos. The decision hasn't been made on that yet. Ahmed, do you have anything further there?
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah.
This is still something that we're seeing. I know the owner is looking at this and thinking about how exactly they're gonna market this. There's not a decision been made yet.
Okay. Those were the questions that I had written down, unless Stephen or Maggie had any others that I missed.
I had there was a question about the tiles on the western facade chimney.
Ahmed, we're not proposing anything with regard to those tiles, right? You're on mute.
Sorry, the question was, and correct me if I'm wrong, what I wrote down, Maggie, was not necessarily a question about the tiles themselves, but it's about a sight line to the tiles.
Correct, yes.
Yeah. So the tiles themselves, just like the rest of the building, because there's also tiles on the front, they're being repaired as needed. I prefer not to do too much with them because they're not in great shape just when it comes to the structural integrity of the tile itself. They're actually kind of soft right now, but I think they're fine in there. In terms of a sight line, I don't believe that the sight line would be affected from what we're talking about right now, the subdivision. I'm trying to stick to this application, not to jump around
Yeah,
because
let's
I know,
stick to
Maggie,
the
you want me to stick in
subdivision.
this. So in terms of
But
the
Ahmed,
subdivision,
the same, I mean, those same tiles are also on the front and the other side of the building as
yes,
well.
yes.
Again, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Yes, they're on those sides as well. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, there were some other questions and comments. I'll address the community group portion of it as well. I think at the first meeting back in May, Charlene and I did have a conversation, and there were some follow-up emails with that. conversation ended, I think, fairly quickly, because it seems like the community group is just opposed to the subdivision, and it's hard to kind of work something out with that. If there's no subdivision, there's no way to move forward. It's not a question of how much of the subdivision or changing something with the subdivision. You're either able to do a subdivision or you're not. Certainly there can be discussions about whatever's going to happen with the new lot that's created, and design features and setbacks and things like that. But we never really got that far because this subdivision just really, I think, ended the conversation. There were some other, I think comments. I think a lot of the comments were related to the other application, and there was some discussion about the guidelines and about the zoning. I am going to ask Carolyn just to kind of repeat a little bit again and address some of those comments about how the historic overlay interacts with underlining zoning when you have a situation like this, because this is not purely in a historic district. It's the historic overlay on top of the underlining zoning. I'll also note that when we reviewed the guidelines, we didn't see any mention of a subdivision within there at all. And there was a lot of talk of the purpose of the district here to be preventing subdivisions. It's not something we came across in any of our research. And I think someone also said that this was a key contributing building. I didn't see that in our research either. I think it was just a contributing building, but Maggie or Michael can agree on that as well. But I would like Carolyn to just kind of refresh again on where we stand zoning wise with the property.
Sure. So there was mention that the subject property is in the historic district overlay. That is section 349-59.6. And just reading directly from it, it says historic district overlays as delineated on the zoning map shall retain the underlying zoning for use, bulk, and density standards. And so the underlying zoning here is R3, and that is what we are applying to the subdivision in terms of, the size of the lots and, the dimensions of the lot and the overall lot area. So that is the underlying zoning, which is the R3. It then continues, design standards dictated through individual design guidelines tailored for each historic district shall be utilized for all purposes or for all proposals in historic district overlays, in addition to the standards found in section 345-71, which is the city's general historic guidelines. These historic design guidelines assist HPC staff, homeowners, and design professionals in retaining the historic integrity of individual properties, landscapes, design features, and historic districts as a whole. And then it does reference specifically the West Bergen East Lincoln Park historic design guidelines. And again, we did go through them. There is not any specific language that seems to indicate that subdivisions are prohibited in the West Bergen East Lincoln Park historic district. So again, we were applying that underlying zoning, which is the R3.
Yeah, and again, some of the new zoning, or relatively new zoning at this point in the area, does specifically prohibit either through bulk regulations or explicitly state that the purpose is to discourage subdivision and demolition. But that is not the function of the historic overlay. That's a function of the underlying zoning in those zones, and the R3 zone is not those zones. So if there's anything else specifically the commission would like us to address, we're happy to do that.
Okay. If there are no comments from the commissioners, we could move into staff comments. I provided a majority of my comments at the last meeting, and I think on the whole, these changes have only made it more conducive. Sorry, I'm just sharing my screen. There we go. And more consistent with the historic design guidelines and historic design standards. I still hold the conditions on the staff report that throughout the course of construction, site and photographic evidence shall prevail over the approved drawings. I think the applicant did a better job with creating a more historically appropriate front door entryway. But on the off chance that we find something, paint ghosts or any sort of, information or perchance a door inside that could provide us more information, I want to make sure that that is our top priority. Otherwise, the proposed subdivision creates 2 conforming lots, and the restoration work conforms with the historic design standards. So in staff's opinion, the project as proposed will not cause an adverse effect on the character and or integrity of the historic resources or the West Bergen East Lincoln Park Historic District, and recommends approval of the certificate of appropriateness and a recommendation to the Jersey City Planning Board with the following conditions. And those are the conditions that are laid out in the staff report. There is one additional one that's not typical. That is, the applicant shall forfeit the curb cut at the property. Currently, there is a driveway there, and that will be given up.
Yes, the applicant would agree to those conditions if should the application be recommended for approval.
Are there any questions from commissioners for staff?
I have a question. I read the same Sanborn maps that Caroline showed us in the beginning, actually the opposite way. The 2-lot condition predates the house. So it seems like rather that the lots were combined to build it, and the house sat there on that larger parcel with its yard for over a century. So splitting it now doesn't seem to restore history. It creates a vacant land condition from before the house actually existed, which I think creates a false historical appearance that the standards actually caution against. So what is the staff's take on that?
So from my research, the back portion of that flag lot, like it had the same frontage that it has today, but the back portion of the flag lot beyond that was added sometime in likely the 90s, the 1990s, long after the building was built. The 2 lots likely had shared ownership and were combined, which is also a form of subdivision, and created the current flag lot that they have today. This proposed subdivision will alter that frontage. The frontage is currently being used as parking, which is not historically appropriate for this property either. It is not a open space or a garden. So in staff's point of view, we are trading one nonconformity to another one. I think that, looking at the West Bergen nomination, you have areas that are specifically called out as being, large lot, open space with a single family home specifically placed in that lot in a specific orientation. This one does not have any of those notations. The Gifford Avenue description in the beginning of the nomination actually specifically talks about how the buildings at this portion of Gifford are closely spaced. So I think that this property being subdivided just creates a condition that actually aligns with the rest of the historic street.
I have a follow-up to that, Michael, because you're talking about, what the designation report says about Gifford Avenue or that specific part of Gifford Avenue. However, another thing that the designation report says about this district in general is that, there are only a handful of vacant lots at the time that it was designated, this district, and that there are very few, relatively few modern incursions. And sort of like, we're looking at an application that's proposing to first create a vacant lot. And second, this lot may or may not receive a modern incursion. And both those things seem, antithetical to the sort of character of the district and sort of like the overarching sort of, paradigm for which it was partly designated, right? The solid and the void, the position of the buildings on the land. And I think that there was some very interesting public testimony, about that. One of the other things that was written about in the historic, in the designation report was sort of like as part of the development of this neighborhood, it was people leaving the crowded sort of downtown setting. And I think it was Shireen had an interesting observation that, this historic home will be renovated and that's creating housing, something about, I think they're creating 7 units, and that space might be appreciated by those residents. And that's very much in line with the historic development of this neighborhood, right? The settlement patterns, that's what people moved here for, historically. And then I guess, also I thought another piece of testimony that was very interesting was Mr. Vidiello's observation that, the house has a position on the property and that the subdivision disregards that completely and changes the context. And I guess I'm confused about sort of the staff report seeming to be so accepting of this subdivision and not, when we've heard so much public testimony sort of in the opposite direction.
Speaking from my professional opinion, right, I think a lot of this seems to come down to a question of like whether historic districts permit subdivision of properties. We have seen, this commission has seen and approved subdivisions throughout the historic districts. So in my professional opinion, yes, while certain properties are defined by their, spatial relationships on their lot, that is not a condition that is specifically enforced by a historic district. And due to the lack of specific standards or anything to review, any underlying zoning that negates the applicant's, ability to subdivide a property, that this does not interfere with the historic condition of the historic property. They will still have a large setback between the property and Bergen Avenue. They will also have a pretty sizable rear yard relative to what we see downtown and throughout much of the rest of the city. Yeah, I see. Natalie, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, sorry, I have more to say. I want to barge in onto what Ms. Gunther said. So I want to make sure that we're comparing the right things. So when we talk about our standards, or when staff says that they are compatible with the adjacent buildings, I'm really having a hard time seeing how that new building, which is about 41 foot tall, fits into that. And if I read the designation report, it calls those buildings that are adjacent, those apartment buildings, and the ones that are further down the block, and as well on Bergen, then with a little bit of space next to it, it really calls those perhaps the least visually appealing in the district. It also says that they create a canyon-like effect, and quote, overshadowing the few detached houses on the intervening lots. So I'm really having a hard time seeing how the applicant can use what the designation report calls the district's biggest eyesore as the standard of what belongs there. So I feel like the staff is measuring, the staff report is measuring against the wrong buildings. Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
So I not to disregard your question. I don't want, but I want to keep it to only the proposed subdivision, not the new construction. The commission could approve the subdivision and then not approve the new construction, and not recommend the new construction. So to me, I'm only reviewing them as staff as two separate applications.
And I think that's appropriate.
I agree. Yeah, I think we understand that. But then also, couldn't we approve the restorative work to the building and not approve the subdivision? It's confusing that these two are combined in a single application because they're sort of unrelated to each other.
I think that's a question for Jonathan. I don't.
If you're just making a recommendation on the whole thing, could you recommend the changes to the building and not recommend?
This, without the subdivision, this wouldn't go to the planning board.
And I guess that answers that.
So in the past, just to jump in here, the board has, if we all remember, the Temple Bethel around the corner from here, the board did approve certificates while making conditions to remove parts of the application. We generally, as staff, do not recommend that approach. Just because it muddies up the application record. If the commission feels that it's in a place this evening that it can't move forward with this application because of the subdivision attached, perhaps there's and we can take a straw poll of that as we've done in the past. I don't necessarily know if I would recommend a condition to remove that. Perhaps we need to gauge levels of support before we proceed with anything. Is that something we want to do? Does the commission feel like it has enough information to make a decision tonight if we do that? Do we want to keep talking through the staff report?
Jonathan, I'm not a voting member on this application. Can I ask questions or make comments?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, the recommendation from staff would be if you were not at the last meeting to abstain. That does not prevent you from asking questions or making comments.
And your comments and questions are always appreciated, Commissioner.
Okay. My feeling is that I think we could probably bifurcate the application and the portion that deals with the historic structure. I think we could go to a vote. If the application was bifurcated.
That is certainly the less controversial portion of this application.
I think on the applicant's end, right, it's how do we move forward with with a subdivision, because I'm not sure I've heard any proposed modifications to the subdivision itself about how to move that application forward. And I do not believe the applicant would want to move forward with the restoration project, the building, without also the subdivision. If there's suggestions about the subdivision, absolutely, but the subdivision was designed in a way to intentionally provide larger lot sizes for each of the new lots. So I think the applicant would want to vote on the application as a whole if there's not anything that we can do about the subdivision to change anyone's mind.
I understand that the applicant would like us to treat the subdivision poorly as a lot line and set the building aside. But it does create a buildable lot for the new construction. And the Secretary of Interior Standards asked us to evaluate the effect on the resources side and environment, not just the footprint, the size and the configuration of the lot we are carving off as part of that setting analysis. And I'm personally not willing to evaluate it as if the building were in the whole point of it. It's not drawn, the property line is not drawn in a vacuum, right? Like its entire purpose is to create a spot to build. And I can't pretend that I don't know that when I'm voting on this.
That's extremely well said, and I agree.
I think I would also remind my fellow commissioners that a subdivision of a property of this type will create a precedent that could affect many, many, many other properties that are contributing in historic districts.
Okay. Does anyone have any further comments on specifically the subdivision or for staff? Okay. So hearing none, Stephen, it's your request that the commission, if they have no substantive comments on improvements to the application regarding the subdivision, that you would like a vote on this?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So unless anyone has anything, I believe that the board has enough information to make a motion on this application. And again, if you are, the applicant's request that we vote on this as a whole. So if the feeling of the board is that they can't support the subdivision, someone should make a motion in that regard. And if there are any commissioners who would like to support the application in terms of the subdivision, who would like to make a motion to that effect, this is also the time and space to do that as well.
Motion to deny certificate of appropriateness to the subdivision.
Okay. It would be the subdivision. It would just be to deny the application and recommend against approval to the planning board. Just to clarify, that's your intention, correct?
Yes.
All right. Do we have a second?
I'll second, unless somebody already did that.
I will mark you down. All right.
Remember, if we're making a motion to deny, we have to give specific reasons.
Yes. My presumption is that the commissioners will put that on the record at the time of their vote. Right? Okay.
Yes.
Just to clarify for the record, before I take a roll call vote on this, the eligible commissioners to vote are Commissioner Gunther, Commissioner Gordon, Commissioner Edgecombe, Commissioner Kay, Commissioner Callback, and Chair Garriga. Vice Chair Cronin, Commissioner Sakong, and Commissioner Sandcamp, since you were not present at the last meeting, staff recommendation is that you abstain from this vote. So we'll still call on you, but the staff recommendation is that you abstain. Okay. All right. We'll do a roll call vote. Commissioner Gordon?
I vote aye, and I'm not sure because the focus is the basis of the denial would be the proposed subdivision. And I don't know which standards would apply here, but essentially the rationale is the site and the setting that this subdivision would create the buildable plot that is incompatible with the character of this historic neighborhood.
Okay. 345-71H2B is the citation for site and setting. Are you comfortable with that citation?
I am, thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Gunther?
I vote aye with the same citation as the subdivision, I believe, dramatically affects the site and setting of the historic resource and diminishes the resource.
Commissioner Edgecombe?
I vote aye for the same reason as site and setting, and also as if the risk that it would set a precedent for other sites to be subject to the same.
Staff would caution against that as a reason because we cannot tie it to a specific standard. Is there a standard that you can tie that to, or do we want to remove that as a reason?
I can remove that.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Kay?
I vote aye for the same citation, 345-71 H2E.
Great. Commissioner Callback?
I would aye, under the Secretary of the Interior standards, which govern here, have to weigh the effect on the resources site and environment and not just the lot line. So I find an adverse effect on the setting of the contributing resource on the character of the district.
Thank you. Okay. Commissioner Sandcamp?
I abstain.
Okay. Commissioner Sakong?
I will abstain as well.
Okay. For the record, Commissioners Gucciardo and Commissioners Blazak are absent. Vice Chair Cronin?
I will abstain as well.
Great, thank you. And Chair Griga?
I'm going to vote aye on the citations as my basis.
Okay, so that's the site and set, the same standard, the site and setting?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. All right, there are 6 votes in favor of denial of the application. There are none against, and there are 3 abstentions. The motion to deny the application and recommend denial to the planning board is approved. Okay.
Thank you. And Maggie will obviously adjourn the next item on the agenda.
That sounds good. We'll do that too. Yeah, that item is adjourned. Okay. And for the record, that application number that is adjourned is H-24-0172.
And then I wanted to ask you about timing for the rest of the evening.
So we do need to take a break.
Yeah, definitely.
However, the meeting curfew is 10 p.m. I do think it would be prudent to, once we return from a break, to get some testimony on the record for 3rd Street.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate that.
Okay. So that being said, let's go ahead and take a break. It's 9:12, much later than we usually take a break. So let's come back at 9:25. Okay.
Thank you, everybody.
All right. We'll see you all shortly. Okay. It is 9:26. We have returned from our break. Laura, I just want to make sure you're good to go before we officially go back on the record.
Yes. I'm ready.
Great. All right. Corey, if you would like to call the next case.
All right, we're gonna go to new business, case A H-25-0494, applicant Stephen Joseph Esquire, on behalf of Downtown Jersey City LLC owner. The address is 285.5 3rd Street, block 11108, lot 6, zone H, Harsimus Cove Historic District, for the certificate of appropriateness for the proposed construction of a new 3-story single-family residential building and associated site work in the Harsimus Cove Historic District. Recommendation to the Jersey City Zoning Board of Adjustment.
Good evening, everyone. Stephen Joseph for the applicant. We do have Mr. Anthony Vandermark here this evening. We don't have a lot of time. I'm going to fast, but I do want to just give you the benefit of some of the history here. So I previously represented the adjacent property owner, who was also this property owner. And many years ago, there were applications that came before this board and ultimately went to the zoning board for both this property and the adjacent property. And the proposal for this site at the time is very similar to what you're going to see tonight. That has since expired. Those are not valid as of this evening, but the property was sold. New owner came in, purchased the property, and decided to keep essentially the same building that was there, that was previously approved, reduce the unit count from 2 units to 1 unit. That's a substantial enough change in the application, going from 2 units to 1 unit, to trigger a new application anyway. So the thought from the applicant was give the building a facelift, reduce the unit count, get new approvals, and build the building finally, which the prior owner had failed to do. We got a lot of feedback from staff, and we think we made some improvements to the property, but I'll let Anthony kind of run through that. I just want to be very clear, because if I'm not very clear, Maggie will make it very, very clear that there was a prior approval. Those are expired. Those are not valid as of this evening. This is a brand new application. Just trying to give you the context of what the intentions of the applicant were for this particular site. So let's get Anthony sworn in, and he'll walk you through the building.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
If you could please state your name for this record, spell your name, and provide your business address.
Sure, that is Anthony C. Vandermark Jr. Vandermark, V as in Victor, ANDERMARK. I am a principal of MVMK Architecture, and we are located at 360 14th Street, Hoboken, New Jersey.
All right.
Great.
You should be able to, staff notes for the record, Anthony's previously been qualified in front of this board as an expert in the field of architecture.
Thank you very much, Maggie.
You should be able to share your screen if that's...
Very good. And I just want to thank the commission for hanging in there tonight, at least for 30 more minutes. I appreciate everyone's time. Okay, can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. Once again, as Stephen had mentioned, we're here this evening to propose a single-family townhome on a unique, undersized lot, but it would be considered a pre-existing conforming lot under the eyes of the current zoning. Let me just quickly walk you through the existing conditions in the existing neighborhood. Top left-hand corner, the side aerial view. The lot size is 14.2 feet wide by 52 feet deep, which is only 738 square feet in actual lot area. This is not considered a subdivision. This is an individual tax lot. Pre-existing site location is 6 lots down from Cole Street, which is here to the west. The easternmost perpendicular street here to 3rd Street would also be Jersey Avenue. Top right-hand corner, again, is a hole in the street wall. I'll get into 2 adjacent properties in a couple of minutes. Majority of the structures on this block are wood frame construction in nature. As you can see in this graphic, in the immediate foreground of site aerial view number 2, directly across the street, we have a larger 5-story masonry multifamily structure. Directly to the west of that, we have a 4-story masonry structure. But then again, across the street, working your way east, you have more of the appropriate lower scale residential wood frame construction. Area view number 3, as you can see here in the foreground at the corner intersection of Cole Street and 3rd Street, the majority of the structures from the corner leading its way into our property, other than the adjacent one to the west, is a 2- and 3-story wood frame construction. The majority of the roofs are flat, leading up to sort of a double gable, which is adjacent to us. Center graphic number 4, 3rd Street, looking west. As you can see here, there's a kind of a hole here, a tooth hole in the street wall. Immediately to our east is a yellow aluminum sided 3-story kind of townhome structure, single family in nature. It has a basement space, but under the eyes of zoning would be considered 3rd story. Obviously these structures were constructed, late 1800s, early 1900s. The adjacent property immediately to the west, as you can see, it's a blue shade, is a more of a gabled, double gabled roof with a painted wood clapboard. Project sits in the floodplain, as you guys had previously heard from another application that was on earlier this evening. This structure can no longer be sitting on the ground. The first residential floor or the first floor of the proposed structure has to be elevated 3'2" off of the sidewalk line. And that creates a little bit of a stranger condition, with the horizontal sight lines of each, window ribbon, across the street facade or the street wall. Directly to the right here, center graphic, view 5 is looking east. Again, a lot of these structures are very similar in nature. There are some small projected cornice lines on some of the existing architecture. What we're going to show you this evening is we do have a small projected cornice as part of this application, but it certainly is open to discussion when we get into the details of the facade. Bottom graphics, again, multiple views of looking east and west towards Cole Street, and then also Jersey Avenue. I want to just introduce a few exhibits because I know these photographs are, many in a sheet. Again, just to show everybody what we're talking about here is this is immediately to the east, masonry front porch, steel gate line between masonry piers, and we have a kind of a taller, 4.5 to 5 foot mural, a masonry adjacent to our property. Again, 2.5 stories above grade, and under the eyes of zoning, it would be 3 stories with a small kind of projected cornice line.
Anthony, are all these photos within your plans and they're just blown up, or are they new photos?
No, these 3 that I'm about to show you are new photos taken today by myself. So yeah, I think we should introduce these as exhibits because I think they.
So all right, so we'll do these as they're all related, right? So we'll do these as
A1 photos dated July 30th, 2026.
That's correct.
Great.
Again, and immediately to our west, so you can see here again a masonry front porch with a painted wood clapboard and a dual gabled roof, gable at the front facade, and again also at the side facade that opens itself up into the vacant parcel that we're proposing here this evening. This is a shot looking directly into the property. As you can see, there's multiple siding options here on the structure to the west. A painted CMU foundation Our site right now is utilized for parking to the adjacent property to the east. Asphalt, we're definitely making site improvements to this. Just a few things of note are the basement windows to the immediate east of us. They are boarded up. No windows exist there. And the property, is deep as far as 100% to the left side, which is the eastern side. You have a 60 to 70% lot coverage immediate to the west. Taking you back to the plan filed set, again, multiple views. We have a pre-existing curb cut on the property that will be eliminated as part of this application for the new structure. There's no parking as being proposed in this application, just a single 3-story townhome, single family. From a zoning standpoint, in the Harsimus Cove Historic District, even though the site is small in nature, we are only requesting 2 variances. I think both of them, we do have Carolyn here. I don't know if we're going to get to Carolyn tonight, but we have a rear yard setback variance request, where in historic, a 30-foot rear yard, is what's required. As part of this application, we have 9'6". That's kind of part and parcel of part of the nature of the lot being so small. And we have a building coverage variance request where 60% is permitted, and we are proposing 72.4%. Again, the site is only at 738 square foot in size. Our footprint area of our building is at 535 square feet. So again, at 72%. We are not requiring a height variance here as part of this application, and of course, not a use variance since it's only a single family.
And Anthony, if you could just clarify for the record, this is already a lot that has been subdivided and currently exists as its own lot, right?
Yeah, that is correct. When you look at the tax lot situation, this has already been subdivided. This is not a subdivision as part of this application. This lot currently exists on the tax records as being vacant property.
Great.
So this is the new structure. Yes. From a site plan standpoint, on the right-hand side, from our property line, we have a 2'7" front yard setback. As you can see here in this graphic, we are aligning with both properties to the east and to the west of their front facade. The building itself is at 41 feet, 3 inches in depth. And as previously mentioned, we have a 9'6" rear yard setback. We do have a rear stair. The building is elevated. Again, 3'2", off of the sidewalk line due to the floodplain. So we do need a stair to access the rear yard, but that's not included in the building setback. In the front yard, we're proposing a painted steel gate with a small landscaped area, as you can see here immediately to the west. We will be proposing new curbing, new charcoal colored sidewalk, and a new front porch that extends 7'2" off of the building face. We have landscaping on both the left side and the right side of this application, and also in the front up against the gate line. That will eventually require a franchise in the event that we do get approval here and then eventually get approval at the zoning board. Building footprint is here in yellow, centrally located. Again, 100% on the left side to the east, a little bit shorter of coverage to the western side on the right-hand side. As part of this application that you're going to see, on the 3rd floor, we have an exterior stair that goes up to a roof deck that sits centrally located on the roof, not visible from the street line from across the street. From a coverage standpoint, top graphic here, highlighted in red, is the proposed site. Again, these lots are very short in depth at 52 feet, very narrow in width at 14.2 feet of frontage. Concentrating on the street wall, again, we have a kind of a toothless part of the street wall currently. Graphic here is where we are proposing from the sidewalk. We are proposing a 31-foot, 10-inch high to principal roof line, 32 feet, 6 inches to the deck line, But from the floodplain or above DFE, we are proposing a 28-foot, 8-inch high structure. So when you kind of put this in context, due to the building being elevated, it really kind of does fall in line, though, with a lot of the pre-existing heights on the block. Centrally located on the block, as you can see, a taller two adjacent side-by-side structures here mid-block with a kind of a taller 3-story gable line. And we are below that gable line. As previously mentioned also is that we do have a few very larger multifamily structures directly across the street from this property. As you get into the floor plans, I talked a little bit about the front yard and how we are proposing, a new curbing, new sidewalk line, new landscaping in the front, a projected front stoop, which is something common that you see here in the street frontage and definitely on the adjacent properties. Large open floor plan on the first floor, centralized kitchen, living room in the front, dining room in the back. Again, a small set of stairs that takes you to a rear yard that's at grade. Landscaping element to the left side on the east, and we're proposing a board-on-board fencing to enclose all 3 sides of the rear yard. Proposed second floor, we have a front and a rear bedroom space. Due to the narrow width of this property, you're only really able to get one room, in the width of this property. So bedroom in the front, bedroom in the back that require light and air, and we can only have windows both in the front and back of this property. None on the side yard. We have 2 centralized bathroom spaces. So each bedroom is going to have a bathroom, washer and dryer closet centrally located. Top floor, 1 bedroom, 1 den space off to the rear. The rear part of the 3rd floor here does not have enough light and air to qualify as a bedroom, so therefore it's going to be labeled as a den. We have a door that accesses a small landing or roof portion that takes the stairs directly up to an elevated roof deck. Here we are proposing a centralized roof deck not visible from the street of 270 square feet. We have a small mechanical equipment screened area. Again, that will be a painted AZAC screen. We have details in the plans to that nature. And up in the front here, we have a 100 square foot extensive green roofing area inside the parapet line. So you can see here, there's an 8'7" off of the parapet and a 3'6" setback to the roof deck. Again, we have some section drawings that show that this is not visible from our immediate sidewalk, from the street line, and from across the street. Take you to the front elevation, left-hand side. Color palette is directly below. And what I'm going to do is, and I apologize to the commission that I'm going to flip between 2 slides here to talk about the elevations. When you look at the elevation on the left-hand side in black and white, we're looking at 5 window set. These are proposed casement windows, painted wood casement windows by Marvin. They will be in a stone white, Benjamin Moore color. There is a bottom transom light that is approximately 4 inches from each floor level, on the elevation. One of the ownership's requests here as part of this application is that, they wanted a lot of light and air. The building is narrow, but it is deep. So we're trying to pull as much natural light and ventilation as we could into the center of this building. We have 1 single door, and it is colored this cadet gray with a single vertical light. We have a steel stringer and a steel riser stair with a steel handrail. Everything is going to be painted to stone white. Unfortunately, we have an electrical service that's going to be on the right-hand side. We have a 1x4 AZEK trim wrap that's painted stone white around each window line. And then also we have a 1x8 wrap on the proposed entryway that's coming in off of the front porch. We have an aluminum composite material, a kind of a simple sloped profiled cornice line. And by owner request, we have a simple 3 feet wide by 8-inch thick ACM front awning over the proposed entryway. Building mass, as you can see here in 2 dimensions, how it fits into the property. as previously mentioned, that due to the being elevated out of the floodplain, we do not have window alignment with the adjacent properties. These properties, they do have a basement. They sit approximately 5 to 6 feet above the sidewalk line. So therefore, we are not going to have, when I go back to the street elevations, that these windows, unfortunately, are not going to be able to be aligned due to this issue with the floodplain, right? First floor is slightly higher than what we're proposing. The second floor is slightly higher than our second floor. However, our third floor will be slightly above the cornice line or the roof line of the adjacent properties. But again, we're not requiring a height variance, as we know in the historic districts. You're permitted 4 stories and 40 feet. We were trying to be extremely sensitive to the street wall and the adjacent properties as part of this application. But again, not requesting a height variance. And we're approximately 28 feet, 8 inches above the floodplain here. So we did try to limit the amount of height on the floor-to-floor heights. The first floor is at 9'4" to the second floor. Second floor to third floor is at 9'4", and we have a 10-foot to the roof line here. As you can see here in this graphic, we have a painted mechanical screen as part of this application that, again, will not be visible from the street line. Going back into the side elevation graphic, we have a cement board lap siding on both the front facade in this color in deep ocean wood grain. And on the side elevations, we are proposing a light mist or a gray tone with an AZEK trim board that basically holds the corners of the siding. As part of this east elevation, you can see here is that we are proposing a steel railing system with a small landing that takes you up to the roof line to the centrally located 270 square foot roof deck. Majority of the colors are in the gray and the white palette family, or the slightly off-white. They're not a stark white, as you can see here. Stone white that we're proposing is a little bit of a warmer white, and we think it's a little bit more sensitive to the adjacent neighbors in the context of the neighborhood. The water table as being proposed is as you can see here, a gray or copper gray cast stone material. Again, the visibility, due to we have a small kind of projected cornice line, which we think is sensitive to, as you can see here, the property immediately to the east. There's a small projection here. And then also on the other side of the adjacent gabled structure to the west, we do have a slight cornice projection as well. So we think we're trying to tie in, similar architectural language, although slightly taller. I think contextually, I think it's appropriate from a standpoint of, how to cap the building or how to terminate the top of the building. And also, as you can see here, from a site or a visual impact standpoint, that cornice, assists us with not being able to see both the mechanical screening and the centralized roof deck that's being proposed here.
And Anthony, I think we'll end it here because I do want time for comments from the commission. And I think all that was left was another rendering in the shadow study.
Yeah, just some similar elevations, but I think they get the gist of what we were proposing here.
Okay. With that, are there any questions and comments from the commission based on what you've seen so far? I do think it would perhaps be most helpful for the applicants if you have comments on what is being proposed. Obviously questions are important too, but considering that we will not be finishing this application this evening, I do think comments would be helpful for them.
I just have one comment about the windows. The way they're drawn on the line drawing, it makes it seem like they may be fine, but when I look at the rendering, it just seems like the solid to void is off. Like there's so much window. And I don't know if it's like an error in the drawings, or in the rendering, or if it's partly due to the contrast of the materials, but I just maybe take a closer look at that.
Certainly. And I think that's a good criticism.
Could we pull that rendering again so we could see what Commissioner Gunther is seeing?
So that is a front facade view, and then this would be a perspective view. So yeah, due to probably the reflection, and then, you know, potentially there could have been some sort of a small scaling issue
Yeah,
with
I
the
think
renderings. I think
yeah,
I think it's a comment is well taken there.
I think in that cover sheet view is also maybe fine and closer to the elevation drawing. I just feel like the head-on rendering was throwing me off a bit.
Okay.
When I look at the block elevation, while there isn't a uniform, consistent building height, it does appear to be, there does appear to be, you know, quite a bit of uniformity, apart from those two buildings that are a story higher. And, you know, personally, just looking at this, my feeling immediately upon seeing it is I actually might not mind if the building were a little taller, if it better aligned with those other buildings with the gabled roofs down the block, and that top story mirrored those top stories so that it kind of rhymed with those buildings better, just to maintain that kind of continuity and rhythm on the block. So that's just me. And the other thought I had was the with the window under the sill that you said is 4 inches from the ground, from the floor. The one that's directly above the awning, it looks odd to me how close it is. It seems very crammed with the lack of space between where the window terminates and then the awning begins.
It can certainly be reviewed and point taken.
Thank you, Commissioner Gordon, for what you mentioned, because I agree with you. Like, that's what would fix the height matching the the structures with the gables on the left of what I'm seeing would make more sense. This building, though, the way it obviously it's going to stick out like a sore thumb because it's new construction and it has different window shapes. Across the street, though, is an uncontinuous row of everything the same height, and this would be the only. It seems in this block of the third would be the only first newer building in many decades. But granted, things are many different heights and eras also.
It was, you know, we were trying to be very sensitive to the height discrepancy on the block, and I think honestly, Anthony and I are probably both a little surprised to hear. What I think I'm hearing is a recommendation to increase the height of the building slightly to help with the alignment of the block front. That's certainly something we can look at and do if that's the consensus of the commission. But again, we were trying to be as sensitive as possible to.
Right.
Stephen, if that's the consensus of the commission, that might help better meet one of the staff comments, which was that while this block does not have a consistent building height, it does have a very consistent window fenestration and visual sightline. Yep. So perhaps fiddling with the height might help align some of those windows across the row.
Yep.
I concur with not being too concerned about the height. As you point out, the multifamily buildings across the street, I think, being so much bigger, I'm not worried about this thing standing out. I'm a little, Commissioner Gordon, you know, all due respect, at the risk of providing conflicting comments, I would worry a little bit about trying to mimic the gabled tops. Those are much wider buildings. I worry that the skinniness of this 14-foot lot might end up the proportions looking a little well, I'll just admit, yeah, I think it won't quite get there, personally, but you know, that's for y'all to try and for us to pick on.
For what it's worth, I said crazy because I have also sat here with trace paper trying to figure out that.
Yeah. For whatever it's worth, you know, I typically tend to be more comfortable than many others when it comes to like the amounts of glass and solid to void ratios. I think buildings should look of its time, and since we're not restoring an existing building, I think this should look contemporary. I think this should look lowercase m modern. You know, do I worry that on those sill lights you'll see all the junk of everyone living inside cluttering out right up against the glass? I do. But I don't know that that's necessarily an architectural concern. I guess I'm just saying I'm okay with it looking a little different, not continuing the rhythms of existing windows, but I do think that striking a couple sort of intentional lines, whether it's an alignment of the cornice or picking up some other, I don't know, clue in the block rhythms. I think that's something that can help anchor it without necessarily imitating. If that's vague enough. But anyway, I overall I find myself supportive of this project.
Are there any other commissioner comments? Okay. Hearing none. Staff would, given the time and that we are close to our 10 p.m. curfew, I would recommend a motion to carry this application to the August, I believe, 17th HPC meeting. It is, in fact, August 17th.
Motion to carry to the August 17th HPC meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. So Stephen and Anthony, I will follow up with those comments tomorrow, and we will see you in August.
Yeah. Thank you,
everyone.
so much. Appreciate your time, everyone. Thank you.
Same here. Thank you. Good night.
All right. As previously stated, cases 9B, 314 Pavonia, and cases 9C, 281 York Street also carried to the August 17th HPC meeting. Staff has no update on the tabled case. We have no demolition applications to review. Crazy. We have no update to the tabled demolition review cases. We have no resolutions to introduce or discuss, no resolutions to memorialize. We do not need an executive session. So at this point, staff recommends a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay. For the record, it is 9:59 p.m. All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
Come on, England.
Good night, all.
Aye.
Good night, everyone.
Night.
Good night.